Hi friends and welcome to the channel. My name is Ryan Abair and this is where I share my insights. And today I'm asking, who's got the upper hand? And I want to sort of dive into language like it's out of your hands or it's getting out of hand. Why do we use language like this? And what is the upper hand? Stick around, it might surprise you. One of the frustrating things about being a human is that we go through a large part of our life trying to put the screws down on life. We're trying to encapsulate it, get an upper hand on our situation. And we struggle with this notion that we can dominate, get the situation under control, and keep it there. And then it gets out of hand again. Some things get so far out of hand they become completely unmanageable. It's like you can't get the upper hand on life. And if you live in this position where you think you can, it's like reality is really dodgy. Like, just when you think you've got everything under control, a new desire comes in. Lack of fulfillment sort of comes in like a weed. That's how it was for me. This feeling of deficit, lack of control, it was like living in a field of weeds and a little spray bottle of Roundup, and and I've said this before, it almost feels like you're playing a game of whack-a-mole with life. Until you realize that I've said this before, but I'm writing about it in my book, that's why it's so on my mind, but we live in an infestation. It'd be like living in a colony of rabbits or roaches or rats. They just multiply and multiply and multiply and multiply. That's because the universe is abundant. And it can be abundant in lack, and it can be abundant in supply too. It's a matter of perspective. It's the word infestation, or to infest, means hostile at its root. So, if you can imagine being an exterminator who is a roach, like a roach. Roaches are infestations, right? Weeds. Bamboo is a great example of an invasive kind of a thing. And the roach puts on an exterminator suit and tries to exterminate himself. That's essentially what it means for something to get out of hand. So, hostility will breed more hostility. Fear will breed more fear. So it's the whole, wives' tale. Like if you start shaving body hair, it gets thicker. The idea of trying to get rid of something is the same kind of thing. Like lording over it, beating it. That is, until you realize that no word or deed has the final say, because you're just creating more fire. Every time you speak, you're kind of adding more hostility. That's why spiritual teaching, the kind of thing I'm doing, is in many ways provocative. And I don't want to come across as saying, oh, I have something you don't. I found the Holy Grail and I can't put it into words. That's frustrating to people. I remember when I was a child, I used to play with my cousin Brittany, and we would play a stupid game I made up because I was evil, an evil older cousin, 10 years old or whatever. We would play a game I made up called Santa Claus. And I would go find an object in her room, like a toy or something in the closet. And I would make her close her eyes and hide like it was Christmas morning. And I would put something under a sheet so she couldn't even see the shape of it. And I would say I was ready, and then it would pretend like it's Christmas morning, and she would run to the sheet to see what Santa left. And then I would stop her and say, it's not Christmas yet. So she could never see. I wouldn't let her see what was under the blanket. And that would frustrate her because she wanted to see. And I believe this is the world of reality. Like, what's real, every time you peel back a layer of the onion or reveal something, more weeds grow up, more ignorance. So as the light comes in, the darkness is also there. So it's frustrating unless the veil has been removed for you, unless you see and if you sat in the silence long enough and you realize there is nothing more powerful than silence and stillness. That words kind of keep taunting a person. Yet spiritual teaching, or whatever you want to call what I'm doing, is tantalizing. What is he talking about? What is this? Show me. It's the same thing as I can't show you what's under the sheet. I can't show you. Literally, what object is there, because it's the subject. And so we are in this position of thinking that these hands are causal, independent of every event, every timeline, and they are not. And I don't even want to say in this language that these are the hands of God. These are the words of God. I don't want to say that, because somebody's going to say, well, take me to your leader. Show me. Right? And the upper hand remains in the upper position. For if I show you the upper hand, in a literal sense, it is now the lower hand. So the upper hand remains in that space of beyond. And you are in an illusion if you think you can get the upper hand, or if that something is out of hand. Oh my God, my addictions are out of hand. My spending is out of hand. My thinking is out of hand, right? Out of control, out of control. That's a good place to start. A good place to start is to realize the infestation idea. Like you're going to eradicate your enemies. You eradicate your enemies by noticing your resistance to people and loving them. You eradicate your financial problems by recognizing this insidious feeling of lack. And you move into a smaller segment of time and you have everything you need. And you always have this room. The universe always seems to have breathing room. And that's adaptability, turning around, converting. It's conversion. There's always a space to convert from hostility to hospitality. When you welcome the upper hand as remaining in that position, nothing can get out of hand because these aren't yours. You can't claim dominance over it. You simply allow it to come through. And when the sense of the separate self has diminished enough, you will begin to surprise yourself at what you can do and say, and how comfortable you are in front of strangers and weird situations. Because I'm not trying to take you to your leader. I can't show you your leader. I can't, because the upper hand remains in the most high position. It says that we must submit to the fact that we can't get an upper hand on life in general until we realize we're playing roach, trying to eradicate an infestation of roaches, you see. But the infestation principle works in reverse, and that's what abundance is. It's once you convert and you see how to not try to grab a hold of it and dominate it and control it, but to see that you are manifesting life. Think of it this way. Ideas roam. They evolve. They live. And once ideas become reality, they don't harden. They still move. Ask anybody who works at a museum how hard it is to preserve a so-called permanent collection. Michelangelo's David is crumbling. It's becoming, marble is becoming porous. The salty air, the chemicals in the air, it's wanting to decay, which is a way of saying it's moving. And so when you get into this wiggly nature of processes and patterns, you stop trying to hold and grab and, it's the idea of over my dead body. Well, pretty much, yeah. The upper hand is over your dead body. And it remains that way too. And so then you get into the lightness of the spirit and you sort of face this direction of light, which breathes and becomes smaller if necessary. That's why the Psalms are filled with language like the meek shall inherit the earth, or the humble, this is in Luke, but the humble shall be exalted. Or the lowly shall see the increase, the earth shall increase for those who are lowly. It's this idea of not putting yourself on the bottom, but basically getting the idea of self out of the way. Me, everyone looking at me. When you realize that what appears as others looking at you is you, the sense of foreignness goes away. And you can make conversation and you can be comfortable even if attacked, even if criticized. Because people don't understand, they don't have the upper hand. You can't give anyone the upper hand. Nobody has it. But it's there. And I am it. But I'm not going to dominate and advance myself because I think I have the upper hand. It's about allowance and submissiveness. So your upper hand is to join with patience, love, kindness, becalming. Becalming means absolute still. So manifestation is about becalming. Just enjoy the silence, enjoy the doing nothing, enjoy the emptiness out of which ideas will roam and wiggle and go around, and let them be. Live in the manifestation, live in the disorder, live in the infestation. It's not cockroaches. I don't like roaches either. But in a way, it's just the manifestation of life and life and life and life and life, which decays and withers and has shadows. Everything has its own shadow. Everything has its own tendency to want to go one way or another. It can flop or live or take off or die. It's all about allowing the movement. Okay? The upper hand is movement. The upper hand is whatever it wants. I can't see the upper hand. I just know the upper hand. I submit to it. I know it's me. But I do not push, dominate, or force it, or claim credit for it. So who's got the upper hand? I wish I could undo the sheet and show you. But if I did, you'd see nothing there. In the same way that if you open the body, you'd see no one there too. No one specific. And I appreciate your time, and I hope that these insights have been helpful to you. And I appreciate you watching. My name is Ryan Hebert. If you have a moment, please check out my blog. It's called mymorningmotivator.com. And we'll see you next time.